Hey guys, welcome back. Today let's see about Python OS module. Okay, so OS module allows Python to interact with the operating system, like whether it is like Windows or Linux, whatever it is. So in case if we have to interact with the operating system, then we have to use this OS module. Okay, so it provides the functions to manage files, directories, environment variables, and in case if you have to execute any shell commands, and in case if you have to retrieve any system level info, then we have to use OS module. Okay. So it is widely used in automation scripts, especially for reading and writing files and then navigating folders and then executing shell commands across platforms like Windows, Linux, Mac, whatever it is. So in case if you have to work with those folders and in case if you have to read any files, this OS module it will be very helpful. Okay, and also setting or reading environment variables. Even if you have to set any of the environment variables, this will be very useful. So, what is the syntax? So, initially, when you write something or make any changes, you have to do 1 second. So, you have to import the OS, like you have to use import OS module. Then, in case if you have to get the current working directory, okay. So, in Linux, we know in case if you have to know current working directory, we used to write PWD, right? Present working directory. So, here we have to do CWD, okay, like os dot get cwd, so it will give the current working directory. And then in case if you have to change the directory, okay, then you have to give os.csdir, the same command which we use in Linux, and then change directory, and then we have to give the path of that file, like where exactly we have to change. And then in case if you have to create or remove directories, os.make directory, and then os.rm directory. These commands are similar to the Linux one, right? And in case if you have to list directory os, you have to give it as a list dir. Okay, normally we will give ls or ll, right? So here we have to give list directory. Okay, and also in case if you have to give that lsfnl, you can pass it as os.system. Okay, because this is for listing the files. And then in case if you have to run system commands, you have to do os.system, and then there you can pass ls.-l. Okay, and in case if you have to set any of the environment variables, then you have to give os.environ, and then you have to give the variable of env equal to production. Okay, so and in case if you have to print this one, print os dot get 10, and then if you pass in this variable, it will print the variables. Okay, so you have to give os dot environ, and then you have to pass in the variable env, and then production, dev, staging, whatever it is. And then in case if you have to print the output, you have to give print, and then os dot get gnv. Okay, so where in DevOps, like where in DevOps it can be used? In DevOps, the OS module is commonly used to navigate deployment directories, and then handling dynamic file and folder creation during builds, and fetch environment variables. Example, AWS credentials or secrets, whatever. In case if we have to fetch, we have to use that one. And then trigger shell commands during automation. In case if you have to execute anything related to shell commands, then we can use this one. And then creating logs or temporary files during a CI/CD pipeline execution. Because for example, if you have to create a file or a folder, in case if it is doesn't exist already, then we can use the same OS module to do the same using CI/CD pipeline. Because in case if particular folder or something is not existing, then actually the pipelines will fail. Okay, and also preparing folder structure for Docker builds or Helm packaging can also be taken care by this OS module. Okay, so now let's see a demo. Okay, so I have opened my WSL. So how to open WSL? If you come here and if you search for WSL, you will get this one. If you open, you will get the terminal like this. Okay, so I have to code here. So I will just type code dot. Okay, so that we will get the VS code. Okay, so now we have this VS code ready. Okay, now what we can do? Now let me create a file. Okay, today is day 4. Like I will create day 4 dot py. Okay, so this is there. Okay, now what is the first step? First is like we have to import the operating system. Okay, like so we have to use the OS module. So how we can do? Import OS. Okay, so when we do import OS, the OS module can be used in the further steps. Okay, now like normally in Linux we used to get pwd, right? So in case if you have to see the current working directory, we have to see uh, like we have to type pwd. Like currently in Python we have to do cwd. Okay, let's type cwd equal to, let's pass it as a variable os dot get. See, when you type this get, it automatically gives, okay, it gives all the variables which can be used. Okay, so current working directory, and then it will be open brace close brace. Okay, so when we have this one, let me try to execute. Let's do python day4.py. Okay, there is nothing coming, right? Why? Because whenever we pass in the variable, we have to print it. Okay, so let me give print cwd. Okay, now let me print again. If you see, this is the path. So this is the path where I am executing this command. Okay, so we are able to get this current working directory. Okay, similarly, for example, if I have to go to some other folder, currently I am in devops python, I have to go to home Ashok Kumar 1. Okay, I will just copy this one, and then I will just go to the directory. So in case if you have to change directory, it is like chdir, right? So same thing, os dot chdir. Okay, and then I will just give the path. So I have to go to this path. Okay, and then once this is done, again I will do print cwd. Okay, let me give one just for our reference after cwd execution. Okay, now let me try to print again. Okay, so once we do this one, it shows current working directory. Current working directory is this one. Okay, after cwd execution, once that is executed, again we are like os change directory. Okay, this is taking this variable. So again let's pass in. If we give again cwd, it is taking this variable. Okay, now we have to know the current, we changed the directory, right? Like current working directory. Now we have to know where exactly it is. Now let me give it as, pass a variable here, like present working directory equal to, and then I will just give it as pw. Okay, now let me try to execute it again. Okay, so again it is giving us none. Why it is giving us none? So we have changed the directory. Okay, but in case if you want to know the current working directory, again we have to pass in the same command. Okay, so again I will take this one. Okay, so I will just take this one. Okay, but we can't give the same variable name, right? I will just give it as cwd1. Okay, and then now we have to print. Okay, now as we are passing this one, like no need of giving this pw. Okay, I will just remove this one. So I can just pass in cwd1. Okay, now what happens? Again, you are executing the module. Okay, and then you are changing the directory. Previously, it was at home Ashok DevOps Python. Now it is changing to home Ashok Kumar. Okay, so cw1 equal to os.get cwd, and then we are printing that path. Okay, now let's try again. If you see, previously it was this one. Now we have changed the path. Now it is home Ashok Kumar 1. Okay, so it has changed. Similarly, like in case if you have to list any directory or something, just you can do the same thing. And then we have this one, os.system. os.system. Okay, now we have to, for example, we have to, I will just do here ls hyphen l. Okay, I have got this one because I have these files. So similarly, in case if you have to execute this one, so we have to give os.system, and then you can give the same command. Okay, I'll just clear this one. Now let me try to execute this one again. So if you see, it has given the file. Okay, so it has given this file, and then it has given all the details. Okay, so this is how it will work. Okay, so now let's see an example, like how exactly it will work. Okay, so I am just using import os, And then for this example, let's use one more module. Okay, um, this is date time. Okay, so date time, for example, in case if you have to print any of the date or time, you have to use the date time module. Okay, that is also a module. We can see it in the later section. For now, as it is recorded in this file, I am just using it. Okay, okay. So from, so we have two options. Okay, one is import date time. Okay, so we can use like this. Okay, so for example, if you have to use this date time, we have two options. Okay, we'll show it later. Okay, so we are using two modules. One is import OS and then import datetime. Okay, now what we can do in this example, so we can create a folder and we will try to save logs. Okay, so what is the agenda? Create a folder and save the logs. Okay, this is the goal. Okay, so now first let's check whether log directory is there. So for example, cd cd temp. Okay, let's try to create in temp folder. So we have some things like pyrite, these things, and apart from that, no other folders are there. Okay, so now let's go there. So nothing is there. So now what we will do, first let's try to create the directory structure. Okay, so here no directory is there. So when you create automation, if it is your system, you know whether the directory exists or not. For example, I have to create a directory like temp deployment slash temp dot logs. Okay, if I have to create this one, temp folder is there, but do I have deployment folder? There is no deployment folder. Okay, this is your system, so you know there is no deployment folder. But in case if it is like if you have hundreds of systems and thousands of systems, then how you will know whether that deployment folder is there or not? In case if it is there, it's okay. In case if it is not there, if you run any of the CI/CD pipelines or anything, it will fail. Okay, so what you have to do, first step is you have to create this folder. Okay, even though if it is there, then it is fine. If it is not there, you have to create one. So how we can do that? So let's do it like this. So let's give a variable log dir, and then we can pass in as so whatever we pass, it should be in single quote or double quote. Okay, so I am creating something like this. Okay, temp deployment, just give, and then temp dot logs. Okay, so even this is not required because logs we can create later. First is we are seeing directory, right? So dot log is a file. Okay, so first we can see directory. Okay, so there is a if else statement in Python. In case if you need any basics, you can let me know so that I will take it's a separate class. For now, I am assuming you guys know the if else statements and the basic syntaxes. Okay, so if, okay, if not, okay, if not, OS dot. So I have to check whether this path exists or not. Okay, whether this temp deployment or what and whatever it is, it exists or not. So if it is not, if not means if it doesn't exist, OS, and then this is a path, right? This is a path. So you have to give path. So we have a uh, variable in this module. Okay, OS dot path dot, whether we have to check when you give dot, it will show all the options which can be used. Okay, so here in case if it is a directory, is directory, so we can check whether it is a directory or file. Okay, so is file, is directory. So in case if we do directory, then we will get the output similar to that one. Okay, so is path exists, in case if it exists or not, so we can use this one exists. And then what is the name we have given for this directory? Log directory. Just I will copy this one and then paste it here. Okay, and then if else statement always it should start close with end with colon. Okay, and then once this is done, so what it is checking, if not OS path exists log directory. In case if this path doesn't exist, what we have to do, we have to create the directory, right? In case if it doesn't exist, we have to create. So what is the command? OS dot make dirs. Okay, and then we have two options here. we have make dir, and then we have, if you see, mkdir, and then we have something called make dirs. Okay, so in case if it is like a single path like temp deployment, it is, you can use mkdir. In case if it is like temp deployment logs slash devops slash one dot logs, it is like multiple steps, right? So in case if it is like recursive, then you can use os dot make dirs. Okay, so os dot make dirs, and then again you have to give the same this thing. Okay, first what is checking, it is checking if not os path. In case if this path doesn't exist, it will create this path. Okay, that's it. So in case if it doesn't exist, it will create, otherwise it will skip. Okay, this is the if else statement. So so what exactly this does, so whenever you write, you just try to write the command so that you will know. Checks what exactly it is, checks whether the folder exists or not, and create folder. Okay, so it checks whether folder exists or not. In case if it is not there, it will create the folder. Okay, this one. Then once your first is you created the directory, now we have to create the file, because our goal is to save the logs, right? So now we have to write the logs. So we can create the log file. Okay, log file equal to, now we have the directory path, right? So we know like where exactly this log file has to save. So we can use the same os module here, os dot path. We know the path, this is the path, right? os dot path, and then already this is there, so we have to add additionally, after deployment we have to add this log file. So path dot. Okay, now we have all these options. Okay, so here also we have base name, and then dev null exists, everything. So what we have to do, we have to use join. Okay, when you use join, it is like, you know, in english join means combine, right? Similarly it will combine temp and deployment with this log file. Okay, join, and then you have to give, like, this is like log file where you have to join this log file. You have to join this log file with the log directory. With this directory only you have to log, right? So you have to use log dir. Okay, so this is done. Okay, now now it will just combine with this log directory, but this log file should have a name, right? So how can we give the name for this one? So we can give the name for this one using, like, just we can use the date time. Okay, let's try to create a random file name. So f, so always when you try to work with any of the files, just start with f, and then you can use double quotes. Okay, now we can give the we can try to create a log file, but it should start with something. For example, this is like deployment, right? So let's take it as deployment log. Okay, so let's start with deploy, and then underscore, and then now for example, how can we differentiate each log file? Because the main thing we can use is date time. Okay, so for example, if you use date time seconds, so the current second which is created now will not be same as the file which is created next, right? So we can easily differentiate when the files are created. So in order to use that one, we can use the date time. Okay, so how you can do, just you can pass in curly braces. Okay, so we already used date time, right? So in case if we have to use, we have to pass in date time dot date time. Okay, and then in case if you have to know the current time, it will be now. Okay, and then always once the command is completed, you have to use open and close braces, and then now it will just give date time. Okay, like current date time. But in case if we need it in certain format like years, months, dates, hours, then we have to pass in one more thing. Okay, now we are passing date time twice, right? So in case if you don't want to use it twice, we have one more thing. Like here, instead of import date time, we can use from date time import date time. Okay, now when we use it like this, just if you pass it once, it is enough. Okay, because in date time we will have many things. Okay, in date time just we need only one thing. Okay, for example I will show you here. So I will just type date time dot. So if I use date time and dot, we have these many things. Okay, so if everything is imported, now when we use import date time, all these things will be imported. But what exactly we need? We need only date time. Only this thing is required inside a module. So in case if you have to use only one thing, then we can use like this. Okay, from datetime import datetime, and then here you can give datetime dot now, so it will take current time. And then like if you need to note the structure, like what exactly it needs to be formed, like it is like a string format. Let's datetime format, datetime python. See, class datetime dot datetime we can use like this. And then we have something called it will be a string format, string. Let me search. Yeah, so we have the string format. Okay, so we have to pass in as string format, and if you see we will have the examples here. See here, date, month, year. So in case if you have to pass something, we have to just use this one. Okay, and then in case if you also have to pass hours, minutes and all, so again we will have something. Where is this one? See, we have this years, months, hours, everything. So based on this, we can pass that as well. Okay. So now what we can do, we can just pass this string format. I'll just copy this one, and then we can use it in our code. Okay. So date time dot now dot, and then we, even if we do here, we have this one. Okay, string format time. Okay, just we can select this one, and then we can inside the curly braces we can pass in that one. Okay, I'll just remove this one, it has already copied. Okay, so what it will give? It will give the output in date, month, year, and then this the log file, right? So at the end we have to give dot log. Okay, so what it will do? First we are creating the directory. Okay, in case if this directory doesn't exist, it will create a directory. Okay, and then we are creating a log file. Okay, so in case if you have to combine this log file at the end of this deployment, we have to give os dot path, and then we have to give the log directory comma, and then for this file we have to give a name, right? So deploy date time now, it will take the time, and then it will format it in the this format dot log. Okay, so at the end it will end with log after this file. Okay, this is done. Now we have the directory and we have the file. So what we can do now, we have to create a YAML file, and we have to not YAML, we have to create. Now we have the log file, now we have to write it. So in the previous example also we have seen. Okay, for example if we have to open any file, we have to open it with, okay, with open. Okay, with open, and then what is the file name? File name is log file, because we can't write into directory, right? We can write only into file. Okay, so we have to use log file. Okay, and then in case if we have to write something, we have to use w. Okay, w, and then we have to pass in as f. Okay, so just like if statements or for statements, we are using with open log file write as f, and then in case if we have to write something, f dot write. Okay, f dot write, and then to which file we have to write? We have to write into, like what exactly we have to write into this log file. Okay, f dot write. So let's assume like deployment started now, deployment started now, and then in case if you have to write some more thing. Okay, and then I am passing it as new line, and then again f dot write, again I am doing f dot write, and then let's write something deployed Okay, so we are opening the log file. Okay, and we are making it as write mode, and then we are writing it. So we are writing these two lines. Okay, so once we write, we have to print. So we have written the file. Now we have to print it. Okay, so how we can print? So whenever you print something, just use this F for files and logs return to. Just we can pass in the file name. In case if you have to pass in the file name, you can just open and close braces, and then we can just give the log file. So we have to just print the log file, right? So this is simple, guys. Like we have seen many examples. It is very simple. Just you have to practice once. Okay. So we are importing OS, and then from date time we are importing date time, and then because in case if we don't import this one, you will have many things. Okay, and then we are creating the directory. If directory doesn't exist, it will create the directory, and then we have to create the log file. Okay, so how we can create log file? Os dot path join. So os dot path, this is the path, and then we have to, what we have to do, we have to join. Okay, to join we have to give the log directory, and then f deploy date time now, and then we have to format it, because this date time normally it will come in different way. Okay, so in case if you have to get it in particular format, you have to use this one dot log. Okay, and then once this log file is created, we have to open this one and make it as write, and then passing it as f, and then f dot write, just we are printing two lines, and finally we are printing. Okay, logs return to this log files. Okay, we have to check whether this log files is printed with these data. Deployment started now, app deployed successfully now. Okay, so this is done now. Let me try to execute this one. So I am executing Python day 4. So currently we don't have anything here, right? So let me see. Okay, so with open, so we have some error. Okay, let's see what is that. Okay, so we are using double quotes. Maybe that is the issue. Like let me use single quotes now, because like we already used double quotes, and if we are using double quotes again, maybe it is confused. I guess let me try again. Okay, again same issue. Okay, there seems to be some issue with the string format, which we took from that Python site. Okay, let me try again. Okay, yeah. So that is the issue. We have taken this from this Python, right? So they have used this slash. So it is having issue with that one. Okay. So when you write, you can just use this modulo instead of the slash, so that it will work fine. Okay. So I have just given this one. So if you see, logs return to temp deployment deploy, and then 030825. Okay, it has given the date dot log. So previously in the temp directory, we didn't have the deployment, right? So now let's see cd temp. If you see, we have the folder created. Okay, now it is created. Now let me go to this deployment. So we have deploy command. Okay, now just again we can go to that path. Let's see, where is that? Okay, now let me try to execute the command again. So I will create multiple files. Okay, now we have created multiple files. Okay, now let's see cd temp deployment ls, but we have only one file. Okay, why we have only one file? Because we are using date, and then we are using month, and then year. Okay, in all the files it is same, right? So in case if you have multiple files, it will not create multiple files, because everything is overwritten. So how we can overcome this one? So here we have given date, month, year, so we can also pass hours, minutes and seconds, so that it will separate based on those things. Okay, now just similarly you can pass in hours, and then minutes m, and then we can pass in seconds. Okay, now when we type it again, Okay, now again let's go to that old path because our file is there. So let me execute this one again. Okay, now if you see 170757. Okay, now let me try to execute this again. If you see 170803. So every minute it is changing. So what is this? 17 is hours, 17 hours. 08 is minutes. Here 0757 seconds. Here 03 seconds. Now 0809 seconds. Now let me create again. Now 1708 23 seconds. Okay. Now let me go to this temp folder, deployment, ls. LL. If you see, we have different files. Okay, when we keep just date, month, year, it is just overwriting because it doesn't separate based on this whole day. It will change, and in case if we execute tomorrow, again we will get new file. When we keep it as hours, minutes, seconds, we will get different files at different times. Okay, so this is one of the examples, guys. Just practice this one. It is very important. Once you practice, you will be thorough with this. Okay. Thank you. In case if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Okay. Thank you. Bye.